Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening and thank you for joining us here on the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Sarah Sanchez.
And I'm Brent Harden. We begin this hour with three developing stories we are following closely. In Berlin, police are on the scene of a crash where they say a 16-year-old was seriously hurt. It happened this afternoon, just after 4:30, near the intersection of Farmington Avenue and Porter's Pass. Details are limited right now, but we know the teenager injured was riding a bike and another car was involved. Farmington Avenue between Burnham Street and Lower Lane was closed for hours. It has since reopened. We'll provide more updates as we learn more about exactly what happened.
A horrific dog attack in East Hartford now. Police say a 1-year-old toddler has died after being bitten several times by that dog. We're told it happened at a home on Fuller Avenue just after 3 this afternoon. The child died at the hospital. The name of the child isn't being released. Officers say 2 dogs were removed from the home, although it's not clear if both were involved here. This is an active investigation.
And we have an update for you on breaking news we first brought you on the news at 5. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection says a second man has been found dead in Lower Bolton Lake now. He was on a canoe that overturned. The other man with him was alive when crews pulled him out of the water around 4:30, but he was pronounced dead at the hospital. Neither of the men have been publicly identified at this hour, but officials have told us we should expect to learn their ages and where they are from soon.
A lot of developing news tonight. We'll bring you all those updates on air, online, and on the free Fox 61 News app. You can download it by scanning the QR code there on your screen.
All right, also tonight, representatives from the Connecticut chapter of the NAACP are calling for accountability after a ShopRite employee was sent home over the color of her hair.
The group says this is another example of racial discrimination in the workplace. They say it's indicative of a much bigger problem.
Fox 61's Jake Garcia joins us in studio tonight with their message. Jake.
Well, Brent and Sarah, the Connecticut NAACP says they are outraged after an 18-year-old ShopRite employee faced discrimination after she was sent home just because she had red coloring in her braids, and now they want answers.
Dr. King talked about judging individuals by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. We shouldn't be judging people by the color of their hair.
Dozens gathered just outside the doors of the ShopRite in Enfield demanding answers after an 18-year-old employee was told to go home because of how her hair looked and not to return until it was, quote, fixed. This is how Dior Pinnick's hair looked the day she was sent home. Her braids colored with streaks of red. Her father, former NFL player Andrew Pinnick, describes the moment she told him what happened.
She gets in the car and immediately tries to make it what she feels right, because she doesn't know. She starts twinkling her hair like, maybe I can just pull my hair out like this or take this out.
His daughter had only worked at the store for over 2 months as a shopper for online orders. He said after talking with his daughter, he went back to the store for answers.
I went inside. The first thing I did was scan the place. Immediately, I see a couple people with multicolored hair. I see people walking around with piercings. So I go to customer service, ask for the manager.
After talking with the HR manager, he said what happened next was just as shocking. Pinnick says he was given a store-branded do-rag to give his daughter, but that it was only a temporary fix.
You want her to push all her hair up into this and tie this around and walk around like this all day? And she said, yes, and if some's showing, that's okay, but about two weeks, she has about 2 weeks to get it all out.
In 2021, Governor Ned Lamont signed the Crown Act into law, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of hairstyles that are associated with race. One of the state lawmakers who wrote the bill said this store broke that law.
Are we saying that her hairstyle prevents her from doing the job that she was hired to do? This is a protective hairstyle.
Community leaders outraged, demanding accountability.
When I'm employed, the only thing I have to do is come to work and do my job. That's right. It has nothing to do with whether it's locked or straight or curly or even fake.
Now, the NAACP says it is organizing a demonstration outside the store scheduled for some time next week. Now, we reached out to ShopRite for comment on the issue, but they have not yet gotten back to us. In studio, Jake Garcia, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Jake, thank you. Turning to the forecast now, still pretty warm outside tonight, but nothing compared to what's in store for us tomorrow.
Oh, I can't wait. Parts of the state could hit 70 degrees. When I put my daughter to bed tonight, I told her that. I said, ooh, it's going to be warm. Got to dress accordingly. Meteorologist Ryan Breton has more. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Sarah and Brent. A little bit of a May preview today and tomorrow. We actually have a couple of light showers coming through now. Nothing too heavy, but a few drops falling around Heartland, approaching Granby. This is coming down toward Windsor and the Hartford area, so you might see a brief sprinkle or a light shower over these next couple of hours. But these are out of here by tomorrow morning, and it will get cool tonight. Temperatures will drop into the 30s in most spots, but that won't last long. Despite a cool start, look at the day tomorrow. It's sunny and it's warm. Afternoon temperatures up into the 60s, and yes, I think some places inland away from the shoreline hit 70 in Hartford, 70 degrees in Danbury. But much like we saw today, if you're near the cooler waters of Long Island Sound, you won't get quite that warm. Even on the shoreline, though, we think we'll hit 60 in Groton, 62 in both New Haven and Bridgeport coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow is a warm day, no question about it, and it's still mild on Friday, but we will have some showers that come through during the morning and a split weekend. Pretty good for Saturday, but St. Patrick's Day brings more rain, too. I'll be back to time it all out and talk about how long the mild weather sticks around coming up in just a little while.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Vernon police have arrested a man they say was responsible for a fatal hit and run last month. 20-year-old Jamarcus McCaddy of Hartford faces manslaughter charges in the death of James Faulkner. Police say McCaddy crashed his car into Faulkner while he was riding a motorcycle on Prospect Street and then took off. McCaddy's being held on a $1 million bond. He'll appear in Rockville Superior Court Friday to be arraigned on a number of charges.
A nightclub in East Haven has had its liquor permit pulled because of multiple violent incidents inside and outside the bar. This is footage from a shooting that happened back in 2021 at the Roomba Cafe on Main Street. There was another incident early Sunday morning where two men were arrested for allegedly firing guns inside the bar during a fight. The suspension prohibits Roomba from operating their business in any capacity indefinitely. Well, the fate of State Trooper Brian North now rests in the hands of a 6-person jury.
The prosecution and defense wrapping up their cases tonight. Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc has been in the courtroom since day one of the trial, and she has the latest out of Milford tonight.
Both the defense and the prosecution were each given an hour to speak directly to the jurors before making their decision. And because the state has the burden of proof, they started and finished those closings with the defense sandwiched in the middle.
The defendant fired 7 shots in 1.4 something seconds. 7 shots right to the chest, killing Mubarak Solomon. I submit to you folks, that's manslaughter.
Inspector General Robert Devlin boiling his closing arguments down to 35 seconds. The time he says it took for 33-year-old Trooper Brian North to get out of his cruiser and shoot 19-year-old Mubarak Suleiman.
You can't kill somebody unless they're posing a lethal threat to somebody else. And you can't do that. That's against the law to do that. And I submit that's what happened here.
That January night, Suleiman led police on a high-speed chase after allegedly stealing a car. Eventually, he crashed it on Campbell Ave in West Haven.
He's sort of leaning back out of it. He posed no threat to anybody.
Then a West Haven police officer smashed the passenger window. Trooper North testified Suleiman pulled out a knife, waving it around. At the same time, another officer seemed to duck his head into the car, getting ready to pull Suleiman out. Devlin disagrees.
He saw the knife and he fired. It wasn't anything about people going through the passenger side window. It wasn't anything about the taser. He saw the knife and he fired. And he wasn't justified in doing that.
And while Devlin focused on those 35 seconds, defense attorney Frank Riccio was asking jurors to take a look at the whole picture, starting earlier that night when troopers were given information that this was a violent carjacking and then chased Suleiman for miles.
Being a police officer is a really difficult job. How did Trooper North act recklessly with an extreme indifference to human life, with indifference which is the greatest departure from the ordinary, in doing his job?
Riccio pointed to North's perception of what was happening the moment Suleiman pulled out a knife, when Trooper North says he pulled the trigger to protect the other officers.
But if the officers on the right side of the car themselves said they feared death or serious physical injury, why is it not reasonable to think that Trooper North could have felt the same?
A split-second decision, Riccio says North made in the moment with no other option.
He thinks about this every day. This is a terrible event. Someone lost their life. But the question is Trooper North criminally responsible for that? He is not.
Now, following closing arguments, the judge charged the jury and sent them back into the deliberation room. Shortly after, they came back with 2 questions about the charges Trooper Brian North is facing, and the judge decided to give them a paper copy of the instructions for clarity. They were dismissed at 4:30, and they'll be back to deliberate tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We are in Milford. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.